The view of an Italian countryside from train window.
Wow, every passenger is beautiful.
Flight for Sight. We are now an official 501c3 nonprofit. We give travel grants to people who are blind and low vision.
Perugia, Italy. Kids in blue t-shirts are being shown how to throw a goal ball on an outdoor soccer field.
Oh, God!
Traveling internationally can feel really kind of daunting and intimidating. And then doing that with a vision impairment, it can really feel like, well, there's so many barriers that you kind of foresee. And sometimes all you can see is the barriers and not the solutions.
Flightforsight.net is our website. If you go to flightforsight.net/apply, you can find the application.
Eliana, the students, and the teachers do a hand stack.
Welcome to Blind Abilities. I'm Simon Bonenfant. Have you ever wanted to travel around the world on an all-expenses-paid trip? Well, if you're blind and visually impaired and have a unique idea to explore, engage, and educate, listen up, because this opportunity might be just right for you. Flight for Sight is a newly formed organization offering 3 lucky winners $10,000 travel grants. Join me in the virtual studio as I speak with Flight for Sight founder and executive director Mike Walsh, as well as one of the inaugural grant recipients, Eliana Mayson, about the formation of the program, the inspiring journeys, and how you can be a part of the next round of grant winners. Interested in applying? Don't delay, because applications close 11:59 p.m. on Thursday, February 15th, 2024. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy my conversation with Mike Walsh and Eliana Mayson from Flight for Sight. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another podcast episode. My name is Simon Bonenfant, and joining me in the virtual studio today, we have Mike Walsh and Eliana Mayson, and they are both affiliated with a relatively new initiative called Flight for Sight, and we're going to be talking about a wonderful new opportunity today for anyone in the blind and visually impaired community to get the opportunity to have a trip of a lifetime. And we'll tell you all about that today. So Mike is the founder and executive director of Flight for Sight, and Eliana was one of the grant recipients and had the opportunity to go on her dream trip, as we'll get to in a bit. Mike, it's great to have you here. How you doing today?
Hey, Simon, thank you so much for having us. It's great to get the word out about what we're doing, and it's great to be here.
And Eliana, great to speak with you as well.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to share my story.
Great. Mike, for those who have never heard of Flight for Sight before, what is it?
Flight for Sight. We are now an official 501c3 nonprofit. We give travel grants to people who are blind and low vision. Also, it could be for a team that includes someone who is blind or low vision. This past year, we gave out 3 $10,000 grants, and we were lucky enough to raise enough money to do that again this year. And part of their mission is they go to our website and apply for it. And they tell us where they want to go, who they want to meet, and what they want to learn, and essentially educate others about blindness. Create content, whether through YouTube, Instagram, blog, podcasting. Do something that educate others about blindness, low vision, or maybe you tackle an issue that you want to go research and meet some people and propose some solutions. It can really run the gamut what you want to do with the project, so long as you're educational. But also we want you to go out and have fun as well. Take the opportunity to go out into the world and do some great stuff.
Fantastic. What was the inspiration behind this idea?
I have Usher syndrome, and that includes retinitis pigmentosa. So legally blind. Around my 20th birthday, I was diagnosed with Usher syndrome. My entire life, I was using hearing aids and have been and continue to. My hearing is very stable, but around my 20th birthday, my brother was having some problems with night vision. It was discovered that he had Usher syndrome. He, along with myself, is hearing impaired. It was determined we both had it. given that it's a genetic disease. But my symptoms did not happen until my 30s. And so how did I get into this? I mean, the quick story is that around 2014, I had been working in social media. I had some expertise in that space. Back in 2014, it was a much different world than it is today. I was using a Facebook page and just learning how to use Twitter and Instagram. They were all very new companies, but I was sort of ahead of the curve in terms of learning how to use those things. And I was dating a flight attendant. I highly recommend it for everyone out there. And I had this pass. So I combined my social media expertise with the flight pass along with this idea, well, I'm losing my sight. Where should I go in the world? That's kind of a cool campaign to just put out there. And so I created a Facebook page asking that question. It just blew up and people were telling me to go all over the place. And I had just great ideas, such as someone was working for the embassy in Ethiopia, and they set me up with different kind of events like going to blind school and meeting different people in the blind and low vision community. So everywhere I went, I wrote a blog and kind of met different people in the industry, including Gordon Gunn, the co-founder of the Foundation Fighting Blindness. He's a great supporter today. I just kind of did this and eventually ended in 2014 as well. And about 5 years later, I met someone who was like, hey, that was a really good idea. What if we turned that into a 501c3 and gave other people the opportunity that you had to travel and create educational content? And so that's kind of how it was born. It was a pandemic, and a few years later, we figured it all out and turned into a 501c3 and raised enough money for that first round of grants. And to prove the concept, which Eliana, along with Mary Bai, did an incredible job with their project, kind of showing what's possible with this money and how to just create stuff that educates others about blindness, low vision, and different lifestyles surrounding that. So here we are.
Yeah, that's very interesting that you had this opportunity yourself to have this experience, but then several years down the road, it took someone else to actually plant that idea for you to make it into an overall global project. Had you had thoughts of doing this before?
It was always sort of percolating right there, like, hey, I did this thing, and like the Facebook page still had a ton of followers, and I just like, it's there. And every once in a while I would like post something, but it was kind of like, this is a really good idea to really turn it into something, this concept. Oh, what would happen if you gave someone who was blind $10,000 to travel, and what kind of content could they create? Because we all have this smartphone in our pocket, and the next step for them is to give them the funds to go out into the world and use that smartphone. Obviously, they can do other things, podcasting and writing and so forth. But there's a real sweet spot, which Mary Bai and Eliana really hit on, was that creating video when they're out there, but also while they're traveling, they did some Instagram stories and posts, and they really used the stuff that you could use on the run. And then we took all their video and created something. They made a video series out of it. That was kind of like the post-travel content they created. So there's a real sweet spot there because of today's technology. Everyone has the ability to do this, and very thankful for what they did.
Yeah, the video is great. I was looking at it on the website, and it's all audio described, and it's done very well. And you really get a chance to feel like you're on the scene as they were going through the different places that were there. And you make a great point about not only is it educating the public about the capabilities of blindness and visual impairment, as I know you've seen throughout your journey originally, but also you've probably seen it in your daily life, as we all have, being blind or visually impaired. But also, you're not only giving blind and visually impaired people the funds to do this, but I think it's safe to say that you're opening up an opportunity, opening up a door of confidence for those folks to actualize their dream and actualize their potential and their confidence and their blindness skills as well. Because it's one thing to have a dream and have an idea, but when it's actualized and put into practice, it does take a lot of planning and skill and work, which I know that you're also vested in and part of the process as well.
Starting a 501c3 is a massive undertaking. As we talked about earlier, your friend helped us with the website. That was a process, and he was so very helpful and patient with me. I still get to email him today. I can't do this thing on the website. I'm only so skilled at WordPress and Facebook and Instagram. I hope we do reach a point where I'm able to hire out people much smarter than me to do these things so I can focus on some other parts of the business. But nonetheless, I'm happy to to be here. And anyone who is starting a nonprofit, I've learned so many tips and tricks that could save other people a ton of time when it comes to the nonprofit world and the different companies that can help out. You can save money. There's all sorts of discounts on different products to use, but that's a whole nother story in itself.
Very good. We'll talk to Eliana about her specific journey in a bit, but I want to hear, Mike, when you opened up the first round of applications, which again, it's pretty recent this past year, for those who are thinking about crafting an application for the upcoming deadline, the next round of grants, what makes an idea go from a good idea to one that's really going to succeed? What's the key ingredients?
I could let Eliana speak about her project.
Absolutely. Let's turn it over to you, Eliana. Tell us, what was your grant proposal and how did it all go for you?
Yeah, the proposal process is very extensive. So they definitely do a great job with research and making sure you have an idea and you kind of have a vision. And then Mike and Rosalie really helped us put it together and help it come to what it is today. I am an athlete for Team USA and I play a sport called goalball. And Mirabai was my teammate. She retired after the Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games, and I'm still continuing to play and compete. And for our listeners who don't know what goalball is, it is a sport for blind and visually impaired athletes. It was invented after World War II for blinded veterans, and it's now in the Paralympics. So that's where you see sports like wheelchair basketball, wheelchair rugby, track, swimming, all the sports for any individual with a physical impairment. And we made a video of what is goalball to kind of start off our video series. So then as you follow our journey and we refer to it, you know what we're talking about. I had a competition in England in August where we were competing to secure a spot to go to Paris. And so we thought, how cool if Mirabai met me at that competition, showed the elite level of goalball, like what we do at the highest level trying to compete for Paralympic spots. And then we take our sport and share it with other countries who don't have developed programs and can try to educate and create awareness and help other blind people who don't have the same opportunities we did here in the US. So we went from England to Italy and we met up with a sports camp for visually impaired kids through Real Eyes Sports.
Perugia, Italy. Kids in blue t-shirts are being shown how to throw a goal ball on an outdoor soccer field.
Oh, God!
It was an incredible experience getting to work with the blind and low vision kids in Italy, teaching them goalball, like watching them like grow in their confidence with their body movements, with their engagement, getting to do the sport and feel empowered.
Eliana, the students, and the teachers do a hand stack.
One incredible thing about goalball is you wear eye shades to block out any level of vision. As Mike was saying, he has vision loss. I have vision loss. We all have vision loss, but we all experience it differently. It's such a wide spectrum. And so when you put on those eye shades, you make it a completely equal playing field and vision is no longer part of the game. And you can just use all your other abilities and talents to compete. And so watching all the kids get to experience it for the first time was an incredible and rewarding experience. And I'm so passionate about sharing the game that changed my life with everybody I can. And then we also got the opportunity to head over to Greece. So the other part of our project was confidence building, mental health awareness. I am a mental health counselor myself. So I wanted to take some of that training and professional things I've learned and put them into practice. You mentioned a little earlier, Simon, that you were imagining it gave the grant winners confidence to travel. And that was spot on 100%. I have traveled in the US a good bit and work hard to really be an independent person. But traveling internationally can feel really kind of daunting and intimidating. And then doing that with a vision impairment, it can really feel like, well, there's so many barriers that you kind of foresee. And sometimes all you can see is the barriers and not the solutions. And my fiance is actually also legally blind. He plays on the USA men's team. And so something that's on my mind a lot is like, I want to travel with him, but like, how can we accommodate these things? How can we do it safely? You know, I don't want to have these barriers. And so getting to go to Greece, and he actually met us there because he was also in England. And then with Mirabai, all three of us being blind and traveling gave me a whole new level of confidence that I would never have achieved unless doing it myself. We used a platform called Ira, which Mike can also speak more on too. They have Ira agents who help you call. It's almost like a one-way FaceTime, and you hold your phone up and you can ask questions like, what does the menu say? Or they have your location and you can say, can you find a bakery and help me walk there? Or we are at an ATM and I asked like, can you help me see the screen? And they're like, you hit this button and now you hit this button. And the level of like empowerment and confidence I gained from being able to do these things without having to rely on a sighted individual was astronomical. So In Greece, we were able to explore the island of Santorini. We actually lined up perfectly where I had a family member who had a wedding there. We got to do a really fun cruise, walk around like the island and just explore on our own, on our terms, and not have to like kind of cater to if we were with a sighted individual and like what they wanted. And we got to adapt everything and just freely travel and exist. And it was the most incredible trip I've ever had.
The view of an Italian countryside from train window.
Wow, wherever we're passing through is beautiful.
Wow, that's terrific. Congratulations on getting to the highest level and competing in that way. That's a very big honor. Tell us about your vision loss journey. Where does goalball play into that? And how do you see it helping others as it helped you?
Yeah, so my vision loss journey is quite different than Mike's. I was born with glaucoma and cataracts. So I've had vision loss from day one. I don't have any vision in my left eye, and my right eye is no field. So I can only see straight in front of me, and my acuity is 2300. So what a 20/20 person can see at 300 feet away, I have to be 20. So essentially it's really poor. And I grew up in the middle of two brothers, and I loved sports and being active and trying to do everything they could do. When I was younger, I didn't really realize I was visually impaired. I just didn't realize why I would get hit in the head with balls all the time. I'm like, what am I doing wrong here? You know, when you're young, you only know what you know. And so I love sports, but I couldn't compete in the way I wanted to. And when I was in high school, two other goalball athletes moved to the Portland area, and I crossed paths with them. And that was life-changing for me because that's when I discovered goalball and I fell in love. Like I said earlier, I was able to be an athlete first and work towards training and competing. And all my success and all my failure was a reflection of just me. It wasn't because I couldn't see or it wasn't accommodated or there was like a barrier out of my control. And so I felt like I was in control of like how far I wanted to take this. And so I started training, made some like pretty big life decisions for the sport, picked my college based off where there was training programs. And that's another reason why I actually moved to Fort Wayne, Indiana, where we have our training site at Turnstone Center for children and adults with disabilities. I went to the Rio 2016 Paralympics and I wanted to keep training. I wanted to get better and get better. And I went to the Tokyo 2020 Paralympics and we've been training this past quad. And unfortunately, we were in Santiago, Chile in November and we fell short of reaching that goal of qualifying for Paris. But to kind of answer your question about why I'm so passionate about it is goalball really helped me find like my identity and myself and confidence. Growing up, I was the only person in my family, my school, my community who was blind. And that can feel extremely isolating at times. And when I started goalball, I was introduced to a world of people who had a shared experience as me. I had peers. I got to see role models, mentors. I was in high school at the time and I got to see people in college, married, have kids, have jobs, all these things that I wanted to do, but I didn't have any role models at the time in my life who were like me who did that. And so that really inspired me and showed me like ways they adapt their lives or how they are successful or challenges they face. And so it's important to me to really give back and work with the youth and developing athletes and say like, this is my journey. This is what worked for me. And I want to give back to you. I want you to feel motivated and inspired and encouraged. And so especially going to Italy and getting to work with all the kids there who really don't have as much resources and opportunities as we did here, it like made my heart so full to like hear one of the girls tell us, she said, you know, from just working with goalball today, like she's like, I feel like I can do more than what my parents think I'm capable of. And like, those are the things that are so important and meaningful, or making just those small changes in someone's life that could later create big change for them.
Yes. And I know that one of your goals and initiatives as a visually impaired person working in the mental health field is that you try to help blind and visually impaired people with the mental health adjustments and prioritizing the importance of that. Can you touch on that?
Absolutely. And kind of even more broad, of course, my expertise is in the blind field, but really just disability as a whole. It's an underserved and underrepresented population. I remember growing up thinking like, if I ever wanted to talk to someone about this, they might not understand my experience. So I really wanted to kind of bridge that gap between disability and mental health and be a safe space for people to talk about their experiences and work through some of the difficulties. And also realize there's other things that are difficult in life outside of just your disability. I think sometimes people over or under focus on a disability and they don't know how to just kind of normalize it and like make that part of someone's life, but not their entire experience. I really wanted to be that kind of person who could help people adjusting to disability, whether it's acquired an accident, an illness, or even if you were born with one, how can you become your most confident, self-accepting, like most self-loved, worthy self? That was kind of a big passion of mine. And one of the big reasons I went into the mental health field is I think mental health is so important. And I really wanted to really bridge that gap for the disability community.
Yeah, you're right. I think many times mental health doesn't get prioritized, whether it be in the blind and visually impaired field or, as you mentioned, in the wider disability community. So I'm glad that you're raising awareness to that fact and trying to help folks that are struggling with that. And experience is the best teacher. So I'm sure your experience can really inform and help others, especially with this grant that you had from Flight for Sight.
Like you were saying, with that, if I was 12 and could have seen a video of two blind girls in Italy traveling, that would have really encouraged me to think like, oh, that's really cool. Like how they did that, I can do that. Representation is so key. And in the disability community, and especially within blindness, there's not a lot of representation. And often when there is, it's not always positive. And so that was another kind of important part of the project for Mary Bai and myself, is we wanted people in the blind community to see these videos and feel like inspired, like to see representation, see like we did this, they can also find a way to do this and be successful.
Fantastic. So Mike, you had the first round of grant winners that went successful and you're here to do it again. I know you have a deadline coming up on February 15th. In your experience, what is it that makes a good idea become a successful idea and something that you want to get behind and something that Flight for Sight supports? I know that you have had many applications. What separates the best from good?
I wouldn't call any idea bad. I mean, for me, it's very heartwarming. Every person that applies and just wants to put their idea out there. So that really feels good. Right away, what really separates people is clarity, an idea that they lay it out what they want to do and what they want to accomplish. They tell us who's their target market. They explain the deliverables, whether it's a podcast or whether it's YouTube series or they're going to do Instagram stories, reels. There's all sorts of platforms now. And then just giving us an idea of where they want to go, who they want to meet. Are you going to be educating us? Are you going to be learning something? Are you tackling an issue? Just clarity. It's funny. I read a lot of applications and I'm like, well, they didn't answer the question. That is rule number one when filling out an application. Really read the question, answer the question, make sure you fill all those categories out. If anyone has a question when they're doing the application, I am very open to speaking with anyone and everyone who wants to apply. I have a Calendly, but you can also just email me, hey, we can find a half hour to speak about your idea. And I can tell you whether they're on the right track or not and make it clear, a clear goal. That's something that Mary Bai and Eliana were very distinct about. Eliana really laid it out what she wanted to do on the mental health front. And then Mary Bai has all this experience on the social media and video front. They were just such a great team. So it was very clear and they were tackling issues, especially mental health. Mental health is something that is very important. Another great thing that came out of Eliana and Mary Bai's experience was Ira. Ira was a sponsor of ours. They offered 100 minutes to each of the grant winners. And so Mary Bai and Eliana took full advantage of this, so much so that Mary Bai is now working for Ira, starting up their social media department. That just makes me feel really good. Like, okay, maybe we accomplished something. We made this great connection with one of our grant winners and a sponsor. And Eliana, of course, loves the product as well. They both made these really great videos about Ira. I'm sure our sponsor's very happy. For any sponsors out there, you know, one of the sponsors we're looking for is a luggage sponsor to slowly ease into some other bigger ones. So if there's an airline CEO listening, I would love to talk to you. Hotel CEO, let's go. Uber, Lyft CEOs, let's go. It's been really exciting trying to build this. And as I said, as the person running it, I wear all these hats and I definitely get flustered and I get all over the place, but I'm learning. We are very new and we are slowly piecing this together. And I think we've done a lot of great stuff. Just check out the content that's been created and we are going to get better and smarter. And as we build this community, we have all these people that are starting to be there for us, support us, and going forward, such as yourselves, you know, promoting us today. Every idea, every application, we learn so much. Like, oh, this person's really got a great idea, but this piece doesn't work quite yet, maybe in the future. We love to hear from you regardless. and it would keep the conversation going, because I think there's a very strong chance that 1, 2, maybe even 3 of the next grant winners will be people that have already applied and that we've talked to. Anyone who is listening today, they are very early days understanding, learning about Flight for Sight, and we as an organization are going to get better at the things that we're doing. But yeah, send us your idea. We love to have you involved.
Can I also jump in from the perspective of the application process? Working with Mike, he's very open to what your idea is and helping you kind of turn that into the project, and really letting you move into your strengths. So I am not the best at taking video. Mine are shaky and sloppy and all over the place, but I love to be in videos. Mirabai loves to take video. That's her kind of what she's really passionate about. So it's kind of playing to your strengths. Like, what way do you like to share content or share your story with the world? And then how can you do that? And like Mike was saying, there's so many platforms out there nowadays. So it's not like you're limited. Like, if you're not on Instagram or if you're not good at taking a video, absolutely still apply. How can you share your story? Do you want to do a blog? Do you want to come up with another way to share your story? And that's where your creativity can really shine through.
Great. Well, Mike, why don't you tell us where people can go to find your content? We talked about it over the interview, but I know you have a large amount of content that's up there. You have a podcast, you have the blogs, the videos. Where can people go to find all the information and also apply for the application due February 15th?
Yes, thank you. The best thing to know is our name, Flight for Sight, FLIGHTFOR. SIGHT. We are that all over the internet. Flightforsight.net is our website. If you go to flightforsight.net/apply, you can find the application. It is a Google form. We feel like we've had pretty good success with that so far. Also, I want people to know that they can contact me. They can email me, mike@flightforsight.net, MIKE. And if they have problems of any kind, if they want to schedule a chat with me for a half hour and talk about their idea before they submit it, it's good to check out the application and see what questions you may have. One of the important elements of the application is to provide examples that relate to your idea. We got well over 100 applications last time, and so for me, examples are kind of demonstrate, okay, well, this is a great idea. Are they capable of doing it? And just something that shows that similar to what your idea is, just so, maybe if you want to do something on video, how do you present yourself? If you want to write a blog, well, you should have a little bit of experience writing a blog or so forth. Yeah. Seeing the content, you can go to our YouTube channel, Flight for Sight, @Flight for Sight. Facebook, same thing, Flight for Sight, and Instagram. Those are where I spend most of my time. And we have a Facebook group as well, Flight for Sight Application Support. If you remember Flight for Sight, you can find us online.
Well, Mike and Eliana, thank you both for coming on to Blind Abilities today and sharing your wonderful stories. Mike, I wish you much success on the second round of applications and grant winners, and I'll be looking forward to following along on social media and hearing about the wonderful work that is going to be happening throughout 2024 and beyond.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us and really getting the word out there about the application. Thank you. And Eliana, you were great today. You can do all the podcasts from now on.
Thank you.
That was the idea. Me stop talking and let the grant winners prove the concept. All right.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening and have a wonderful day. Such a wonderful time speaking with Mike and Eliana about their wonderful work making Flight for Sight what it is today. If you missed any of the information discussed, don't forget to visit the show notes. It's all there for you. I'd like to thank Mike and Eliana for taking the time to conduct this interview with me, and I'd like to thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy. Until next time, bye-bye.
For more podcasts with the blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities.com. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you want to leave us some feedback, give us a call at 612-367-6093. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening, and until next time, bye-bye.
When we share
what we see through each other's eyes, we can then begin to bridge the gap between the limited
expectations
and the reality
of blind abilities.
And the realities of blind abilities.